Hi everybody, welcome back to our next Lunch and Learn, and it takes us to the Annex. So boundaries as always, DuPont Street to the north, it's between Bathurst Street and Avenue Road, and the southern border is Bloor Street, which we're standing on right now. So Bloor, it is really the commercial heart of the Annex, and it's got lots of great little shops, lots of great restaurants. It's kind of a really fun place to walk. Anyways, 1790, that's when the European settlement first started here. The area east of Brunswick, and Brunswick is this street that is literally right behind me. East of Brunswick, it was called the village of Yorkville, and west of Brunswick, it was called part of Seton Village. In 1883, Yorkville agreed to be annexed with the city of Toronto, and Seton Village joined in 1888. So you think that that's where they got the name of the annex from, but not quite yet. It was in 1886. Simeon James, he was a developer, and he decided to create an elite subdivision, which he called Toronto Annexed. And this is where the name Annex comes from. The subdivision includes parts of Yorkville and parts of Seton Village, and we'll be covering those areas in a video sometime soon. Some of the first residents in the area included Timothy Eaton. He was the patriarch of the Eaton department stores, and George Gooderham Sr. from the Gooderham and Worth Distillery District that we all know. The Annex first golden era, it lasted until the early 1900s, when the upper classes began to migrate northward above Davenport to the newer, more fashionable suburb called Forest Hill and Lawrence Park. In the 1960s, there was a proposal for a Spadina Expressway, which would have divided the Annex in half. But residents, along with some other grassroots groups, they successfully opposed this construction and stopped it completely. Since it borders the University of Toronto, the Annex has long been a student quarter, and it's also home to many frat and sorority houses and members of the university faculty. And we're actually standing in front of a frat house now. This one is Delta Kappa Epsilon. And there's also a little plaque there. One of the Eaton's family, E.Y. Eaton and his wife Mabel, they lived here as well. Because of the proximity to the university, the Annex has a high rate of seasonal tenant turnover, and its residents range from university students to older, long-time residents. So here's a crazy stat. Many of the houses, they've been subdivided into apartments. And as of 2023, 70% of Annex residents, they're renters rather than property owners. So the Annex, it's mainly residential, and the streets are lined with these beautiful tall trees, and they dwarf these large Victorian and Edwardian homes, most of them built between, I'd say, 1880 and the early 1900s. In the 1950s and 60s, it saw a replacement of some of these houses with mid-rise and a handful of high-rise apartment buildings, which were built, many of them in what was called the international style. So with the international style, these buildings, they were surrounded with landscape green spaces in an attempt, I guess, to better fit into the neighborhood. There are now over 500 buildings in the Annex that are protected by the Toronto Historical Board. I'm standing in front of one now. Many of them are plaqued. And so what was trying to do is, I guess, give developers or have developers have less of a chance of developing in the neighborhood. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not trying. If you drive along some of the streets close to the major arteries, you'll see a lot of these proposals for condos. Anyhow, let's go grab lunch. We're going to go to a restaurant called Thai Bar. Okay, so we're here at Thai Bar. We got curry chicken, chili chicken, and fried rice. It also came with a mango salad and hot and sour soup. I had the mango salad with a little bit of peanut sauce. That was really, really good. I like the mango because it wasn't crunchy. It was actually a little bit more palatable. So the curry chicken, it was delicious. I expected it to be a little bit sweeter, but it still wouldn't stop me from eating here. And the chili chicken, delicious, and fried rice was just fried rice, but it's really worth it here. I would come. Annex houses built between 1880 and 1910 are great examples of Victorian, Queen Anne, and we looked this up, a style called Richardsonian Romanesque, which is a Romanesque revival style used in Buffalo, New York in the 1870s. And it kind of makes sense because Buffalo isn't really that far from us. Annex-style houses typically feature large, rounded Romanesque arches, along with Queen Anne-style decorative items such as turrets. Attics are emphasized in the exterior, and the houses are mostly made of brick, and a lot of them incorporate Credit Valley sandstone. The architectural detail is among the finest in the city. ranging from pyramidal roofs, turrets, which I just mentioned, recessed grand archways, and wooden spindled porches. A second wave of annex homes dates from 1910 to 1930. These houses are less elaborate than their predecessors, but nonetheless, they're great examples of English cottage, Georgian, and Tudor-style architecture. Okay, so prices. Detached, I'd say 2 to 7 million, but there have been really big sales. I've seen 10 million plus in the neighborhood. Most, however, between probably about 2.5 and 4 million. Semis, 1.5 million to say 5 million. Because of the size of some of these houses, some are really, really big and some are a little bit smaller. You're going to get a lot of overlap in prices, and it's a really, really broad range. Row houses, 1.5 million to $3.5 million. Now, there's also condos in the neighborhood. Not a lot, but about 12.5 condos. We actually happen to be standing in front of one of them. It's called the Loretto on Brunswick. It was kind of a cool conversion done a number of years ago. So, one bedrooms, mid fives to about 1.2 million. One in den, slightly a little bit more, I guess, mid 600s to 1.5 million. Two bedrooms. Some of the old buildings, I've seen $600,000 and $700,000 prices, but some of the newer and some of the bigger ones, I've seen it up to $5.5 million. It's a huge range, and you kind of really can't pin it down, but safe to say this is a pricey neighborhood. A beautiful one, but pricey. Anyways, there you have it. I love doing these videos. Like, share, and we'll talk soon.